Good Tuesday afternoon. This is Les Johns with the More with Less podcast. Obviously, another Zoom edition. And today we're bringing forward Conor O'Neill with the Winston-Salem Journal. How's it going, Conor?
Going all right on a club going up on a Tuesday.
It is on a Tuesday. I was kind of explaining the on a Tuesday phenomena to my daughter the other day. She was not impressed, but
It's a very tough academic day for the Deeks.
It is a tough academic day for the Deeks, as we found out. How's life for Conor O'Neill for the last 7 weeks?
It's been a lot of sitting right here. This is a little different of a backdrop than the press conference because I migrate between here and my living room, and we kind of have like a half dining room area that I was at for the press conference on Saturday. So this is pretty much where I've been. I haven't even been to the office since the Monday after the ACC tournament, so that's been interesting.
What's been the biggest challenge for you during this last 7 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks of the pandemic, quarantine, isolation? What have you had to grapple with the most?
Well, I think I don't think I put this out there on Twitter or anything. I had the flu for like that week, back like a month ago, maybe about 5 weeks ago. And I was pretty much just on the couch, dead. I started feeling bad on I think it was a Sunday night or a Monday night. And then by Wednesday morning, I was having Jamie, my girlfriend, take me to urgent care. And urgent care, they gave me a flu test and came back and said the flu test was positive for the flu. They said if it came back negative, then we would have known you had COVID-19. It's like, great. So give me some Tamiflu and I'll sit on the couch for another 4 days and hopefully feel better. So
I bet you probably were never more happy to have the flu.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man, it was miserable, and I wasn't even Corona.
If I remember correctly, that's twice in the last 2 or 3 months you got hammered pretty hard by being sick. I think I remember something in January or February.
Yeah, there was one time in basketball season where I was feeling out of it for 3 or 4 days. It's really like before these last few months, I'm one of those, I get actually sick like once every 2 or 3 years.
Wow. So obviously we've both had to kind of endure or go through the whirlwind of the events around Wake Forest men's basketball since Friday night, Saturday. Through the press conference with John Curry Saturday morning, afternoon, whatever it was, what was your biggest surprise or takeaway during that period of time about the dismissal and the announcement of it? What was your biggest takeaway or surprise out of that, Conor?
This wasn't really a surprise per se, but I was kind of just annoyed that it happened on Saturday of the NFL draft because I was looking forward to working that day anyway, but tracking down the Justins and Asang and all the guys that were going to sign free agent contracts. And I mean, that was kind of fun last year doing it with Phil getting drafted and then Cam Glenn and Matt Colburn and Greg Dortch, even though I wasn't able to get in touch with him. But, I was looking forward to that. And then everything blows up and that all went by the wayside. So I was kind of disappointed in that standpoint. I don't know if anything that John said in that virtual press conference was really that surprising to me. I guess in context of the last 2 to 3 days, it is surprising to me that it's moved as quickly as it has.
Yeah.
I asked the question of if coronavirus affects your timeline so much in making a move to get rid of Danny, then would coronavirus affect your timeline for hiring a new coach? And he was pretty clear that it wouldn't, that he'd be able to move relatively quickly. I don't know if I understood it to be as quick as it has been.
Once I started thinking about it, Conor, and I wrote this early Sunday, I think it was, when you look at the fact that there's no travel arrangements to work through and most folks' schedules are pretty wide open, it makes sense that you're able to move through interviews a little bit quicker. But at this point, it looks like they're narrowed in on 6 candidates, and those are the 6 is what it looks like.
Yeah,
so from that perspective, yeah.
I get that part of it, but then you also deal with the part that's like you're the only school looking. It's not like you should be in a like, what does Dave Clawson say to us ad nauseum?
Don't be in a hurry to make a bad decision.
Exactly. So like that's my thing is like if you're the only school looking, then if it were me, and this is why I'm not a AD, I don't know if I wouldn't take my time a little more.
Is that the only reason you're not an AD?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I had something, but now I forgot it. As we look through the 6 candidates, and it seems like they're pretty much out there for everybody right now. And I think most of those were on your initial list of 10. I don't remember if all 6 were or just
I
maybe
had
5
5
or
to
6.
6. Yeah.
I think I might have only had 4 of the 6. I think, or maybe 5. I didn't have Tommy Amaker, to be honest.
Me neither.
But of those candidates, as you've done some research, what tidbit or thing do you find interesting about it that the Wake Forest fans might not know right now?
I mean, I think they know this. I think at least the ones that have a firm grasp on it know that there's not a home run hire. There's not this guy checks every single box on the list. Like every one of them, you can find a reason that they should be considered and should be hired, and they shouldn't be considered and shouldn't be hired. So, you have like Thad Matta. I was shocked that he's only 52 years old. He looks like
Me too. Yeah.
But maybe you look like you're 70 if when you're 40 you have somebody mess up a back surgery and you have your foot deal with problems walking for 10 years,
Yeah.
So I was surprised on the age on Thad, and I think the biggest hang up there would be health, unless he has some outrageous salary demands. You have somebody like Ryan Odom, who I think will be a hell of a Power 6 coach at some point. I think this is a little early on in the process for him to be considered for an ACC job. But, if he's going to be something down the road, then if you jump in on him early, you could benefit from having him locked up.
The thing that absolutely destroyed me, Connor, is when I started researching, and I know you didn't have this problem because I've got a few years on you. When I started researching and realized that Tommy Amaker has been coaching 21 years.
Yeah, he was at Harvard for
play.
He was at Harvard for a lot longer than I thought he was.
Yeah, forever. And he had a really good run for a while.
Yeah, I think it's 5 straight regular season championships, and maybe the last of those didn't result in a NCAA tournament because that was when they finally got to doing an Ivy League tournament.
Yeah,
I'd have to refresh my research on that, honestly. But yeah, you have Thad Matta, who looks like he's 70 years old and is actually 52, and Tommy Amaker would be 55 when the season starts, and he looks like he's about 42. So
yeah, I would have never guessed that Tommy Amaker was older than Thad Matta until I started putting that information together. No idea.
Yeah.
Do you see a candidate, and you said they all have some weaknesses, they all have some strengths. Is there any one or two of them that seem like that's a Wake Forest fit? Is there any that kind of fit what you think would be the mode that would be like a perfect Wake Forest kind of persona?
Yeah, if you're talking about academically focused, actually the one out of the one not in the 6 that makes the most sense to me is John Beilein, just because of his background at Richmond. And Michigan, despite being a public school, is pretty academic. Everybody wants to talk about Steve Forbes not being a candidate because he's so reliant on JUCOs. I don't really buy that because he's been at Wichita State, he's been to Tennessee, he's recruited 4-year players, he's recruited some stars to those places. Like that's not, you adjust to the school that you go to. You don't take your model everywhere for recruiting purposes. If you're a good coach, which I think he is, I confess I don't know much about Winthrop's academic rigors.
or
Um,
lack thereof.
yeah, I mean, I don't even know off the top of my head if they have a good, medium, or bad academic reputation. I know they're in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and yeah, that's I know they've been to the tournament once in his 8 seasons and would have been going this season if they had had a tournament. Thad Matta was at Ohio State, which you're a big public school. You can probably recruit some guys that you couldn't recruit to Wake. But before then, he was at was it Xavier and Butler
Xavier, yeah.
for a year,
I
and then
think Butler
Butler
was
for a
just
few.
1 year, I think, right?
What was it?
I think Butler was just 1 year, and then Xavier was a little bit more extended.
Yeah. So, I, I don't know. I don't know if there's that, perfect academic, guy who's been at a private academic focused school in the candidate pool right now.
I'm
UNC.
not going to ask you to tell me who you think it might be, but I'm just curious. Do you have any candidate X has been hired stories pre-written yet?
I need to get to work on that. Probably spent too much time on the phone yesterday and not enough time doing that. That might be I've already fired one 5-hour energy down the hatch today, and there might be 1 or 2 more coming down the road.
Has the consumption of 5-hour energies decreased any since the pandemic, or is it still the same level?
What do you think?
I think it's probably the same level.
Yeah, it's we made one trip to Sam's Club, which is where I re-up, and it was a little hectic in Sam's Club, but got in there, got my I guess I'll use some terminology from The Wire. I got my fix. So
you can bulk purchase there at Sam's, right? You get like big cases.
I'm telling you, it's the only place that I can find, and I've looked where you can buy them for less than $2 a bottle, but you got to buy them in bulk. You gotta spend some coin. And
if you get those things at like the Pilot Travel Centers on the road, they're like almost $5 a piece, aren't they?
Exactly. And I used to do like when I first started getting into them, and that was when I was, gosh, you're really making me feel like I need to be scratching my arms and stuff. When I first started getting them in Burlington, I used to stop at a gas station on the way to work and just put like 3 or 4 in my bag, and only drank them like if I felt myself falling asleep during a game or falling asleep at the office when I knew I was going to be there for a while longer.
Just curious on this. I had the sense that this coaching search is going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. Is that kind of what you're hearing too, Conor?
Yeah, I think I would be shocked if we get to the weekend without a coach. And I mean, it wouldn't shock me if stuff moved along a lot faster in the next several hours. I mean, really,
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and John Curry is wasting no time. We both know he's an extremely hard worker, and he obviously came in ready for this process on Sunday and has hit the ground running. Obviously, I'm thrilled at the amount of folks who've joined Demon Deacon Digest over the last couple of days. Thanks, everybody, for your support. Where can people get your work, Conor, and what is it you've done recently that you're most proud of and want people to check out at the Winston-Salem Journal?
Yeah, I mean, wsjournal.com. I think that's email. Journalnow.com, all one word, is the website. And, going there, I haven't written anything much in the last day or so because, it's not been substantial enough for me to publish. And I had conversations with my editor about that yesterday and been talking more today. And, when there's something up, it'll be up. I did see that in the paper, I think today, the Sam Hartman feature that I wrote on Friday is in there. So if you want to break from the coaching search stuff, there's a Sam Hartman story in the paper and online.
You also did features on all of the Wake Forest like draft eligible guys too, right? The guys that potentially would have been drafted or had free agent deals. You did features on all those leading into it, right?
Yeah, I had 5 Q&As up. some good insight from Sternad and Haran and Bassi and Benzinger, and they've all been picked up. I'm pretty disappointed for our guy Jack Frudenthal. I think he's kind of the odd man left out. Him and Dayton Diemel, I think, are the only two that were in the pool of looking to get picked up and weren't picked up. I'm hoping for Jack. I'm hoping for the best. I know he was in our Q&A with him. He shed a lot of light on how much it impacted him to not have a pro day and not be able to get out there and snap in front of scouts and not be able to put some times to paper and get himself in their eyes. So I don't think the dream is over by any stretch, but it's not the best situation if you haven't been picked up at this point.
I had a friend who remarked to me sometime during the process when I was looking for a sane to get drafted and I was stepping away from the computer for this or that, he's like, a long snapper just got, drafted. I was like, well, don't joke about that, because I expect fully for Dayton Diemel to get picked up by somebody, and I too was really surprised at that. And I think he'll find a spot eventually. Yeah. Because, he's freaking perfect for 4 years.
Yeah, it's just it's such a technical thing, and long snapping, I think, would be my, if I had to create a character in Madden for myself in like real life, long snapper would be like the last one I pick, because you're talking about getting a job and keeping a job based on tenths of a second that you can do faster or somebody can do faster than you in terms of whether you're able to feed your family or whether you're in the NFL or trying to get a job as a, consultant or something, whatever, a coach or wherever people go after football.
For the record, me and Conor discussed prior to the draft who would go first amongst the weight guys. He went with Justin Sternad and won that little wager. I picked Hussein Bassi, who didn't even get drafted. So Conor destroyed me. Am I allowed to say destroyed, or is that like demolished? Am I not allowed to use those?
I don't think it's destroyed. It's not even like it was a competition. I might have had more time to peruse the draft boards and all the indexes of all the players. But yeah, I think Justin is kind of Isaiah Simmons light in that he's a linebacker that can cover tight ends because he's got a good enough size on him, but he can cover backs out of the backfield because he's fast enough. And then you turn on his tape and look at the instincts and look at the reactions and ability to diagnose plays. The end of the 5th round is a lot later than I thought he'd go.
Yeah. Well, Conor, any last words for Deacon Nation as I eagerly anticipate word of who the next coach for the men's basketball program is going to be?
I don't think they'll have to wait long.
I'm with you. Conor, thanks for your time so much. I'm looking forward to seeing your work in the coming days. We're obviously going to be pretty busy dudes. Check out his stuff at the Winston-Salem Journal. And what's your Twitter handle, Conor? I can't even remember now.
It's Conor O'Neill, WSJ. No underscores or spaces or anything like that. 1 N, 2 L's.
1 N, 2 L's. Thanks so much for your time, Conor, and best of luck the rest of the week.
Thanks, man. You too.